I used to think small acts didn't matter, until a homeless woman walked into my nearly empty diner and asked for just a glass of water. What she did after that changed everything. This story isn't just about saving someone. It's about how a single moment of kindness, from someone with nothing, brought everything back to life. Stay with me, because by the end, you'll believe again, in second chances, in people, in miracles. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, comment, share with someone who needs hope today. Subscribe our channel Kindness Talks for more real-life inspired emotional stories. The bell above the diner door jingled softly as another customer walked out, empty-handed, just like the last 5. Rain tapped on the windows like a ticking clock counting down to the end. The lights inside flickered faintly, and the aroma of fresh brewed coffee drifted across empty booths. Jackson Miller leaned on the counter, staring at the cracked linoleum floor, his apron stained, his eyes hollow with sleeplessness and worry. The Sunset Diner, once his late father's dream and the town's favorite gathering place, was now a quiet, dying relic. 3 months behind on rent. Suppliers threatening to stop deliveries. His cook had left last week without notice. And just this morning, the utility company warned him that the power might be cut off within the week. Jackson didn't need a sign from the universe, he had seen enough. But today, something felt heavier. Like it might be his last day here. He'd just finished scribbling a 50% off, help us stay alive, note on the chalkboard outside when he heard the soft creak of the door. She walked in slowly, old, frail, and soaked from the rain. A plastic bag hung from her shoulder like it carried her entire life. Her coat was oversized and torn at the sleeves, and her shoes squished with every step. She looked around the place, uncertain, her eyes wide with hesitation and hunger. Jackson straightened up, his instincts torn between survival and kindness. She spoke first, voice trembling. "I'm sorry to bother you. I just wanted to ask if I could have a glass of water. I haven't eaten in a day and I won't sit long." Jackson stared at her. He had no business giving away free water, let alone food. But something in her eyes reminded him of his mother before she passed, dignity even in desperation. Without a word, he nodded. "Take a seat. I'll bring you coffee, and something warm to eat." Her eyes welled up. "I don't have any money, sir. I didn't ask for any." He smiled softly and turned toward the kitchen. He rustled up a bowl of tomato soup and grilled cheese, simple, humble, but warm. He placed it in front of her, then poured a fresh cup of coffee, his last good batch from the supplier. As she ate, she murmured blessings under her breath, pausing with each spoonful, as if she were tasting food for the first time in months. Something about her manner, her quiet gratitude, filled the room with a peace Jackson hadn't felt in years. When she finished, she stood up carefully. "Thank you," she whispered. "My name is Eleanor. I won't forget this." He nodded, watching her disappear into the rain. He thought that was the end of it. Just another good deed in a dying place. But that night, when Jackson closed up the diner, he found a small, folded piece of paper beneath her coffee mug. It was handwritten, the ink smudged. "You didn't feed a homeless woman today. You fed someone who still remembers what kindness is. And I promise you, it's not the end for you. Someone always sees." Jackson smiled sadly and tucked it in his apron. What he didn't know was, Eleanor wasn't just another lost soul on the streets. She was the beginning of everything. The next morning, Jackson opened the diner as usual, but with less hope. Yet as he turned the sign to open, something strange happened. A line, 3 people long, stood outside. That hadn't happened in years. One man walked in and said he'd read about this diner on a blog. Another said he was told to come support the diner that feeds people even when they can't pay. Jackson blinked, confused. By noon, there were 10 people inside. The soup ran out. Jackson hustled behind the counter, doing everything himself, cooking, serving, cleaning. Then came a tall man in a tailored coat who didn't order food. He simply sat, pulled out a laptop, and introduced himself. I'm Matthew Blake. I manage a philanthropic blog and podcast. Did you serve an elderly woman yesterday? Frail, coat too big, soft-spoken. Jackson nodded cautiously. Matthew's smile grew. That woman is Eleanor Hargrove. She was one of the most influential philanthropists in the country. She vanished from public life 2 years ago after her husband passed. She's been quietly walking cities, testing kindness where no one expects it. Jackson's knees nearly gave out. She was homeless. She refuses money. Said she wanted to find people who do good when no one's looking. That afternoon, Matthew featured Sunset Diner on his blog, the place that chose kindness over survival. By evening, local reporters called. Within days, strangers came from surrounding towns to eat there. Social media exploded with photos of Jackson serving meals. Donations poured in through an online link Eleanor secretly arranged. But the biggest surprise came a week later. A lawyer stepped into the diner and handed Jackson a sealed envelope. Inside was a letter, in Eleanor's handwriting, and a check. Dear Jackson, I was once a woman who had everything but forgot what mattered. You, a man who had nothing left, gave me dignity without question. This check is not charity. It's a partnership. Let's build something beautiful. Let Sunset Diner become the home of second chances, for people like you, and for people like me. The check was for $250,000. Jackson cried behind the counter, unable to speak. He framed the note and hung it beside the kitchen. Months passed. Jackson hired 2 staff. Added a pay-it-forward board for prepaid meals. The diner's walls now displayed thank you notes from around the country. And one spring morning, Eleanor returned, not in rags, but in a modest coat, holding a tray of cinnamon rolls she baked herself. Jackson ran to her. You came back. She smiled, eyes gleaming. I told you I would. You fed me once. Now let's feed hope, together. And so, the diner that once echoed with silence now rang with laughter, music, and healing. All because one man said yes when the world expected him to say no. Sometimes, the most broken places hide the deepest beauty. And sometimes, the person you help without expecting anything, turns out to be the one who changes your entire life. If this story moved you, let it be a reminder, kindness is never wasted. Not ever.